Digna Ochoa was a woman who never turned away from a fight for justice, even when it seemed like the world was stacked against her. Born in the small town of Misantla, Veracruz, she grew up with a deep sense of right and wrong, always looking out for the oppressed and marginalized in her community. As she grew older, she realized that her voice and legal expertise could be the most powerful weapons in the battle against the systemic injustices that plagued her country. By the time Digna was 37, she had become one of Mexico's most prominent human rights lawyers. She had devoted her life to defending those who had no other recourse, working on cases that often brought her into direct conflict with powerful interests, from drug cartels to corrupt government officials. She had a quiet but firm belief that every person, no matter how insignificant they might seem, deserved to be treated with dignity and respect under the law. Her work was not without its dangers. Digna had been threatened countless times, receiving ominous phone calls and warnings from anonymous sources. But nothing could shake her resolve. She was unshaken in her mission, even when it put her own safety at risk. She knew that her voice, though small in the grand scheme of things, could make a difference. It was a belief that had driven her to become one of the key figures at the Miguel Agustin Pro Juarez Human Rights Center, an organization that had become a beacon of hope for those fighting for justice in a country where impunity often ruled. On October 19, 2001, Digna Ochoa arrived at the law office where she worked in Mexico City. It was another busy day, filled with case files, meetings with clients, and strategizing for ongoing legal battles. But that afternoon, something was different. When her colleagues arrived, they found her lifeless body lying on the floor of her office, her face still a picture of calm, though her life had been violently taken. A gunshot wound had ended her life, but it was the chilling message that accompanied her death that sent shockwaves through her colleagues and the entire human rights community. Next to her body, a note was found. It was short, but its words carried a chilling threat. The note warned that the same fate could befall other members of the Human Rights Center, a dark reminder of the price Digna had paid for her commitment to justice. The message was clear: those who challenged the status quo, those who defended the rights of the powerless, would not be allowed to continue unchallenged. Digna's murder sent a shockwave through the human rights community in Mexico and beyond. She had been a symbol of courage, a person who had never hesitated to put herself on the front lines of the fight for justice, despite the personal cost. Her death was not just a tragedy, it was a grim reminder of the danger human rights defenders faced in a country where corruption, impunity, and violence were rampant. The investigation into Digna's murder was swift but deeply flawed. Despite the clear threats she had received and the fact that she had been a vocal advocate for some of the most dangerous causes, no one was ever convicted for her killing. The police seemed unwilling, or perhaps unable, to pursue the case with the necessary rigor. Some even suggested that Digna's murder was part of a larger campaign of intimidation aimed at silencing those who dared to challenge Mexico's powerful elites. In the years that followed, her death remained unsolved, but Digna Ochoa's legacy lived on. Her colleagues at the Miguel Agustin Pro Juarez Human Rights Center, along with countless others around the world, honored her memory by continuing the fight she had begun. They took her death as a stark reminder of the risks human rights defenders face, but also of the importance of carrying on her work. Despite the shadows that hung over her tragic end, Digna Ochoa's story was one of resilience, compassion, and unwavering commitment to justice. Though her life was cut short, her work continues to inspire those who fight for the voiceless, reminding the world that the struggle for human rights is not one that can be easily silenced by fear, intimidation, or violence.